Well, first, good morning or good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our March 22nd community update. Let me first start by saying I am deeply saddened and disturbed by our recent attacks against Asian Americans in Atlanta and across the United States. Literally, there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of racially motivated attacks against Asian Americans that have been reported in the country since the outbreak of the pandemic. And Senator Warnock said it best when he said, when we see it, although people may say it's not, it was pretty clear. And I agree with Senator on that. Those things kind of highlight themselves. Obviously, this is totally unacceptable. This bias and hate crimes and the bigotry and racism that exists sometimes. I think we have to remember that we are a country of immigrants. Not everybody's going to look like me. And we need to be able to accept people as they are, because they all have feelings and they want to provide for their families and they want to do a little bit better. But they come to this country for a reason, as my grandfather did. And I'm proud to say that we need to, take a little bit better of a turn when it comes to that too, and be more accepting and understand that we are all people. We're on this planet together at some particular point. So obviously we stand with our brethren in Atlanta and across the country in solidarity, and we remain committed to an inclusiveness and equity in this community. And that starts with being, a welcoming community. And celebrating our diversity and standing up for one another whenever we can. And Akron stands with our Asian community today and every single day. So thank you for let me start with that. Let's start with vaccines. Beginning last Friday, Ohioans 40 years and older are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Additionally, people with various qualifying medical conditions can also schedule an appointment. And in 1 week from today, which will be March 29th, all Ohioans age 16 and older will be eligible for the vaccine. And vaccine supply still remains somewhat limited, but it is getting better. And with all the new people who will soon be eligible, it might be difficult to find an open appointment. But very soon, Summit County Public Health, in conjunction with the state of Ohio, will be opening up a mass vaccination site right here in Summit County at the Summit County Fairgrounds, located in Talmadge. And the plan is to set that to open up at the end of this month or the beginning of April. And we'll post more information as we get it and as we contact with Summit County Public Health. So you can sign up to receive your shot as the information becomes available. So those are the plans. Hopefully by the end of this month, beginning of April, we'll have a mass vaccination site. And I know the original plan was probably for Chapel Hill. And I'll get into that in a second, but I recently received my second dose of the vaccine. And thankfully, very few side effects. I felt pretty good for the 12 and 24 hours. It was almost a week ago. I had a little arm soreness. As many of you know, I had COVID back in November, and thankfully it was a mild case. And after the first dose, didn't have a whole lot of side effects. That's different for everybody, but I'm encouraging, obviously, everybody to get the vaccine and to schedule an appointment once you're eligible. And this is what we've all been kind of working towards over the last year. It was I think, a miraculous year to get to a vaccine so quickly. And I'm not the health expert or the medical expert, but developing a vaccine inside of that time frame, I think, was pretty significant. And now that we are able to get them out, but I hear a lot of people talk about, whether they're going to get it or whether they're not. It's certainly not a mandate, and I certainly don't want to go down that road. I think it's better that you do and do have it. And I think even you're getting into some of these things where people you listen to some of the news broadcasts, even nationally, and they start talking about, whether people, and there's some reluctance out there for a host of reasons. I'm encouraging people to get it. It's not about vaccine shaming, whether you don't have it, but there could be other things that come about if you don't have the vaccine. Obviously, it's a pretty serious global pandemic, and people talk about, whether there's going to be another surge. Well, all the numbers are going in the right direction with the hospitalizations coming down, the number of cases coming down. All of those are good metrics are doing it. Part of it is because that vaccine is getting out there. So I'm encouraging everybody, if you have the opportunity to be able to get it, to please do. And if you need more information, dig around. Call the public health departments, call your medical provider, call your doctor and say, listen, what do you think? These are my concerns. If you have concerns about them, there's certainly a ton of information to help alleviate that decision to be able to do it. So anyway, we're not there yet. We're not at the end about a mask mandate. It is still in effect in Ohio when you're in public places. Still wash your hands, stay that 6 feet. Those are all the things that have driven down those numbers because we're staying vigilant. So let's get through this. I think we have a little bit more to go, and then we can study the vaccine and see how it transmits and the different variants, and listen to our public health experts and our doctors about how we stay safe. So thanks for listening to my spiel about that. If you have, like I said, if you have questions about the vaccine and its effectiveness and whether you should get it, please contact a medical professional and follow the data and follow the science. So well, let's get to Chapel Hill. As you know, we were going to do, not we, but the community was going to do a mass vaccination site at Chapel Hill. Go back at least 3 or 4 years, the mayors of Talmadge, Mayor Klein, Mayor Walters in Cuyahoga Falls, and Summit County Executive Eileen Shapiro met and talked to the old owner of Chapel Hill Mall and gave him suggestions about how we think we could maybe revitalize the mall. And there's kind of this, we have a fascination sometimes with malls across the country, and you've seen malls lately in many communities have they've fallen into disrepair because that's not the way that retail has gone. Each one of you, many of you may have a phone. Retail has changed, and malls have become less busy. So we engage with the old owner to give him ideas. Fast forward a few years, and the mall is being sold right about the same time as we were trying to set up or the community was trying to set up that mass vaccination site with the state. And there was just a hair bit of timing that did not work out from moving maybe some new jobs into the mall site and doing the mass vaccination site, even though the space is huge. So they decided to move it up the street just about 1.5 miles to the Summit County Fairgrounds, which is still fairly accessible. It's got good access. There'll be traffic control. Hopefully they'll do a lot of vaccinations each and every day. So it was just the timing that didn't work out, but that's actually a good thing. Because in a matter of a few years, we had 2 malls that we were worried about. One was an absolute eyesore across the community that had its own YouTube channel because it had fallen into so much disrepair. Fast forward a few years, and now it's 1,500 plus people are going to work there every day in an Amazon distribution site. And with the new owner with Chapel Hill, we don't have any more malls or big plots like that to worry about, which is a really good thing for the community. In reading some of the reports and some of the businesses that are up there, that needed a shot in the arm. And we always talked about, what's the best use for a mall site? Well, you can let your imagination run wild, but I always thought, the economic development side and getting as many jobs up there per acre and having a lot of that mall space being used in conjunction with whatever it may look like, whether it's a portion of retail and storage and light manufacturing and light industry, those are all good things for all of our communities, for Talmadge, for Cuyahoga Falls, for Summit County, and for Akron. So I think it's a good thing. It was just the timing didn't work out exactly right. But like I said, we still have a pretty accessible site right up the street at the Summit County Talmadge Fairgrounds. So Summit County Fairgrounds in Talmadge. I'll get that right. All right, the next, many of you have heard a lot about the American Rescue Plan. We call it the Akron Rescue Plan. And one of the ways which we'll all work to recover as a city from the effects of the pandemic is through some federal funding that was granted to Akron as part of the effort. The city of Akron will be receiving $153 million. And I can't stress enough how important this is. And I've talked a little bit about the plan to be able to do that. First of all, we have to kind of wait to what the Treasury guidance says. The Treasury Department and the legislative intent of what the legislation looks like, they're going to say, this is the ways you can use it. But that being said, we have a number of significant ideas, and we will roll out a plan to the community to be able to say, listen, this is what we're going to do with that money that comes into the community. And we've been spitballing ideas back and forth amongst communities, even in Ohio. I know the mayors of Dayton and Columbus and Cincinnati and Youngstown and Toledo and myself in Cleveland all have worked towards, some of those key metrics and key kind of a plan, what's the biggest impact. But believe me, these are going to be impactful things, I think, in a multi-generational way of how we affect the city into our neighborhoods, into our infrastructure, into our economic stability, even within our own budget. It's really hard to give you specifics now to say this is exactly what we're going to do, just because we're waiting on some of that guidance, but it will be soon. And quite frankly, we have about 2 years to spend this money, which it'll be a significant impact into the city, across the city, into every neighborhood and every business district. And we'll work closely with council leadership and being able to dovetail that plan and present it to council and go from there. So look for more details to come. It's hard to provide details because I don't want to go back and say, well, I know we were going to do this, but now we can't because they said no. Let me get the guidance first from Treasury, and then we'll roll out a plan to be able to let the community know exactly what we're doing. So if you have more questions, shoot us ideas too at some point. Some maybe that we're already thinking about, and some maybe, well, we can't necessarily do that, but there's always an auditable legal reason for doing all these things also. So, well, another, I think, significant development for the city is that we are now accepting applications for the position of police chief to lead our Akron Police Department. And as part of the search, we put out a community survey, and I've encouraged all of you to take it. We need your feedback. I care significantly about what the community thinks. With the department and a new leader, we should, what are the top priorities that you think? What's the most important to you in the newest chief? And if you have thoughts or opinions, you can go to akronohio.gov/police chief. And we'll post that along there in our social channels, so you can do that. But it's akronohio.gov/police chief to find the community survey and a link. It takes about 10 minutes. And it's important that community has a say. And obviously we will agree on what we think are the top priorities, what the next police chief, and work those into that whole screening and application process. So make sure that you have your voice heard and take the survey. One of the topics which I know will undoubtedly be at the very top of the list for our new police chief will be gun violence. And I've talked about this a number of times on all of our community updates about what we do about gun violence. One, I think it's the plethora of illegal and legal guns that are out there. I've never been one to say, listen, people shouldn't own them. But there is a significant pipeline of illegal guns that go around the city, and not just the city of Akron, it's across the country. And it's not a who should own a gun argument. It is, how do we rightfully keep guns out of people that don't have them and don't need them? And there are a lot of different proposals. It's not about banning that part of it too, but sometimes it's even difficult to have an argument or at least a policy discussion about how we keep the community safe. And it's no secret, this year has not started off great when it comes to that. In fact, it's been horrible. We've seen a total of 15 homicides. 1 is too many and 15 is a tragedy. And I remain committed, and I know this city remains committed to combating violence in our communities. We have done some things even on the public safety side, but it's not necessarily a policing issue. And I even told that on our committee meeting last week to Russ Neal, when he talked about it's not a policing issue, and he's right. It is more of an everything else issue of how are we getting people to have a better educational opportunity, better economic opportunity. How do we stop the flow of illegal guns into the community? And it's a community-wide approach to be able to do that. And quite frankly, part of that American Rescue Plan and Akron Rescue Plan, we want to use significant resources to be able to combating gun violence and violence in our communities. I don't know what that's going to look like just yet, but I know it's going to be a top priority, not only for the chief, but for us as a community. So one piece of news that our newest Akron police class has started their training about a month ago. They've been starting with their legal side with the Akron Prosecutor's Office. It has a total of 19 recruits. 14 of those will become Akron police officers. 3 we are training for Canton, and 2 will work in the arson unit in fire. And over the next couple of weeks, they'll be learning more about the arson. Next couple of weeks, they'll be learning more about crime scene investigation, interviewing, and writing reports. And one thing that I've advocated strongly at the state level is to get our officers vaccinated as soon as possible. They are in the process of doing that as first responders. And that was all kind of the state guidelines that Ohio Public Health put out that said this is the way that they were going to do it. I know many mayors across the state of Ohio tried to get the police departments and the dispatch offices and communications moved up on that list because of their critical nature of the job that they do. So a vast majority of these new recruits have already received the first vaccine, and they'll get their second shot in early April. So we're making pretty good headway with our City of Akron employees as their guidelines that the state of Ohio put out to be able to do that too. So hopefully at some particular point this year, a vaccine will be available for everybody at whatever time that you want it and your willingness to take it. So, well, with that, that's the update so far. If we can shoot into a few questions, Stephanie, we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Greg asked, last time you mentioned that Lock 3 would be holding events this summer. Any updates on that schedule?
Yes, Lock 3, the summer schedule is going to be announced on April 15th, which is in about 3 weeks. In the meantime, they still have their fire pit rentals through April 3rd, so make sure to reserve yours. And if you're interested, they're also offering an Easter egg hunt, kind of drive-through style, where you can book with the Easter Bunny as well. And for all the details and to reserve your spot, you can go to lock3live.com. That's lock3live.com. Now with that, I know everybody wants to go to our great public park in the middle of downtown and listen to music on a Friday night or a Saturday night, or if it's a Sunday a festival. And those are all the things that we want to do also. We're not saying, hey, listen, we're just not going to do it this year. But you know that minor league baseball is going to be back in season coming up pretty shortly. We want to be able to do the things at Lock 3. It is all contingent on some of those numbers that we do see from Summit County Public Health and their guidance. Obviously, with anything that we do at Lock 3, it probably will be, and I'm speculating, but I think I'm pretty safe to say this, it will be on a less capacity issue than we were 2 years ago. If it can hold X number, whether it's 5,000, what percentage are we going to be able to do? But we'll figure that part out to be able to allow for safely as many people to be down there as possible. So look for that on April 15th. So next question.
Sarah asked, when is Main Street going to be completed?
The first phase of Main Street, obviously right around the roundabout, or right around the First Energy building going south to Cedar, has been completed. The one section should be done about mid-May. Fortunately, and knock on wood, because we've had some excellent weather over the last 6 weeks, they've been working a lot, and I've seen some crews even working on the weekend. That one section of Main Street between Mill and Market Street should be open by the middle to the end of May. Then they will jump across and heading north a little bit to MLK. So it's Market to MLK. They'll do that section, and you see they've taken the centerpiece out so far. So, and that will probably conclude sometime by the end of this year. So hopefully we'll get both phases up by the end of 2021, going both ways. So, and we'll do the roundabout opening with the rubber worker statue sometime. It's either this month. I don't think it's this month. It's probably in April. We're trying to wait for the best weather to be able to do it. We didn't want to do something. And the more time we go on, obviously the more people that we can have there too. But that is public now. You can go down there. The rubber worker statue hasn't been installed yet, but a lot of the commemorative bricks commemorating a lot of the people that worked in the rubber industry, our founding, that's our bread and butter, and what's in our blood is that, we build tires and everything else across this community, and people were able to buy commemorative bricks to be able to do that. And I bought 3. Actually, it was 4. Well, a lot of people in my family worked in the rubber industry. I know my dad, my Aunt Helen, and my Aunt Josephine with Goodrich and General and Mohawk Tires. So you can still buy a commemorative brick, I think. And if you can, and we'll post that information to be able to do that too. So good question. All right, last question.
Yeah, last question is from John, and he asked, are we still going to have the scooters downtown this summer?
Yeah, we'll have scooters. In fact, when we first debuted them, they were being used a lot. I saw them kind of all over the place. And obviously the winter months, it's a little bit more difficult to use a scooter, even though I think we didn't have that bad of a winter to be able to use them. I've seen people use them in the middle of winter in bigger cities. But yeah, they're back out there again. I've seen a significant number, not only downtown, but in some of the neighborhoods to be able to do that. So those are available for you to be able to use, and you just need to download an app, and you can take a scooter ride wherever you need to, and kind of go from there. Listen, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know we covered a lot of topics fairly quickly, and if you have questions on follow-ups and we didn't get to your question, please let us know on social so we can get you an answer to that. Listen, stay safe today. Stay 6 feet. Wear your mask and get your vaccine if you're able to. You're able to sign up and get it. So take care. Have a great week, Akron.